So today I thought we might talk about why the hell in the world are you doing photography? And I guess you can put that across any specialism that you're doing. Why the hell are you a musician? Why the hell are you an actor? And it came to me this week listening to a musical genius producer called Rick Rubin talking about why musicians should do things for themselves rather than anybody else. And it got me to thinking about my career and why I'm doing what I'm doing, why I do what I do. And it fundamentally comes back to the premise of pleasing myself. And I guess quite often artists don't look back on what they're doing themselves and give themselves any kind of credence. And I think that's because predominantly people are trying to impress other people all the time. And probably, luckily for me, a couple of years into my photography career, I realised that trying to please other people pleases nobody. And people won't buy into a pleaser, they're buying into the thing you do. So quite early on in my career, probably a couple of years in, I realised that I should be making pictures for me, not for them. And when I did that, it made me a completely different photographer. But not only that, it made me a better critic of my own work. But further than that, when you're producing work for yourself, when you're making stuff, be it your own project, be it a commercial gig, whatever it is, when you're making stuff, photographs, to please yourself, that's when other people start to buy into you. If you're making photographs to please other people, you're never going to please them. And that's because you won't really have a good angle or a good affinity with that work you're making. An example would be I'm my own worst critic, or biggest critic, best critic, I guess. Worst critic's the wrong phrase. I am my own biggest critic. But within that critique, I'm being honest. And I can only be honest with myself if I'm making work to please my own standards. And quite often, I think, quite often photographers don't do that. They're too busy trying to please everybody else. So when I started just trying to please myself, first and foremost, whether I'm shooting fashion, buildings, skyscapes, nightscapes, puppy dogs, whatever I'm doing, I'm looking at that picture as I'm going through my selections and I'm saying, is that the best I can do? Is that the most creative? Is it any fucking good? And if I don't get a yes and affirmative to all of those things, then the pictures won't see the light of day. They'll end up on the cutting room floor, as they say. They'll end up in the bin. And you can see this. You can see this across my work. But even just on these pictures I've got on screen now, taking snapshots of our pup Paddy when we got him. Just taking random pictures of him, and most of them are dog shit. Most of them will never see the light of day. But within that, you come to a space and you go, oh, actually, that was interesting. That's really what I was trying to do. And although these aren't for commercial use, they're only my wife and me and the kids seen them. When I'm looking through them, I am thinking, my God, that's a load of shit. Oh my God, that's a load of shit. Oh dear, that's a load of shit. And this is just taking snapshots of our dog. And when you come to them and you look at them, as in you're going to edit them, you've already gone through that process of pleasing yourself. And if you don't know what pleasing yourself is, if you're not making pictures to please yourself, if you're making them to try and convince other people to like you or to buy into you, then you can't ever go through the process of culling them down to only show your best, to only show the ones that really work. And I don't think I've picked a very good folder here, to be fair, because all shit. But the idea is, you know what you want to produce, you know the quality, you know the aesthetic, you know the composition, you know the exposure, you know all that stuff you want to produce. And you instinctively know then if you don't produce it. Like I've just said, all these pictures are just snapshots and they're a load of shit, really. Probably one that's worth using or showing. But because I'm shooting to please myself, not shooting to please my wife or my neighbour or a client or whoever it is, then I know when things are right and when things are wrong. And how can you expect the wider public, potential clients or actual clients, to buy into your aesthetic if every photo shoot you do, you're trying to please somebody else and not yourself? So, yeah, just reading that quote or listening to that quote from Rick Rubin just made me realise that I think that's what's wrong with a lot of photography. I've said this before and I'll say it again, there's a lot of mediocre crap out there. There's a lot of good marketers who aren't very good at photography, but they're very good at marketing. And they get work, and they get plaudits, and they get applause, and they get all that other wondrous stuff. Oh, you're awesome. Because they're good at marketing, not at photography. And I think, well, I pretty much know, actually, that the main issue why they're not very good is because they're not pleasing themselves. They're just shooting any old shit in the hope that somebody looking will like it. And then they're very good at marketing, so they market their way into places. What are the benefits from pleasing yourself? Well, the main benefit for me is that what lines up your aesthetic, your look, your style, your feel. Somebody books me for a shoot, they know what they're going to get. They're going to get technical incompetence, and they're going to get my style, how I shoot, how I angle, how I edit. They're going to get that. And that only came about from pleasing myself. And by pleasing myself, I mean all of those things I've just discussed there. I mean, I'm just looking through his pictures of Jess. Jess is a lovely model I've worked with a couple of times over the years. And you can see, if you look through these pictures now, that I'm just scrolling through, we were aiming for a certain look. And Jess looks great on every shot. But I'm just waiting for the shot, for the one that makes me go, oh, actually, that's the one. That's the one. That's the one. And there are about 30 shots maybe in that set. For me, just trying to get the one. That's not bad, is it? In old money, that's a roll of film. And they're all very similar. The aesthetics are all very similar on them. They're all very tight shot. Jess looks great on them all. But you're looking for the money shot. And the photographers I'm talking about who are great marketers but shit photographers don't know what the money shot is. So they'll pick any shot or they'll use any out of that. And the amount of photographers I've stood with, either mentoring them or just stood talking to them while they're selecting pictures, and I see them scrolling and scrolling, and they go past the one that you know is the money shot, and they never see it, and they pick another one which is probably, in the grand scheme of things, only about 20% off being the right shot, but nevertheless it's off being the right shot, and they use that and edit it. And I'm standing there thinking, oh man, if you'd have just gone back a couple of shots, that was it, that was the one. And quite often it's difficult, when you're looking through them, particularly as thumbnails, to figure that out. And you need to, bring them up into the real world, and you can look at them side by side, and you can just see the minor changes. What is it you're looking for? And eventually, you come to the one, and you go, actually, that was the money shot. That was the one I was looking for. And you can see, Jess is great, she's a great model. I hope she doesn't mind me using these, but a little awkward, not so awkward. A little awkward, not so awkward. And it is just about finding that shot that just hits the money. And a lot of it depends on what you're looking for aesthetically and what you're trying to gain from that shot. But I find that if you're trying to please yourself here, not trying to please the model, not trying to please the client, I'm saying I'm looking for this thing. The right shot gets taken and the right selection gets made. So all those mediocre photographers out there, they've got thousands of followers on Instagram and Facebook and all those other wondrous places. 500px, remember that? Remember 500px? And getting comments from people who don't know any better, and you're sitting there going, huh? That's a lot of shit. How did that happen? It's because they don't shoot for themselves. They're shooting to please other people, to get likes, to get loves, to think they're great, and they're never shooting their best work because they're always shooting to please somebody other than themselves. So next time you're thinking about going out to shoot and you're pleasing other people, maybe don't be doing that. Shoot to please yourself. Shoot to please yourself and See if that makes any great difference to your output and to the respect you get from your actual peers, rather than the fake peers who shoot to please other people for likes.